story. Man of the hour for all the wrong reasons. Jeffrey Epstein. I got to tell you guys, I have obviously been covering this case a lot. It is the biggest story of my lifetime, I think, but for all the wrong reasons, obviously. You know, I've studied it religiously since 2019, and yet when this latest tranche came out on January 30th, it blew my mind. I mean, I knew this was the worst thing. I knew it was total depravity. I knew there were all kinds of powerful people involved. I knew there were all kinds of governments involved, people above government. I knew that. It's beyond even what I knew. I mean, what was your reaction?
I think that the first thing that surprised me was the breadth of it, kind of what you're referencing, where you have everyone from Peter Attia to, all kinds of diplomats, all kinds of businessmen, all kinds of elites involved in one way or another. And it was sort of stunning to see, all the post-conviction interactions. And that jumped out at me. And now there are some, kind of stories we're following right now that I think are important in terms of the Bannon relationship. I guess my big thing in the larger Epstein discourse that we're focusing on is we're a news company. So we try not to play the theory game. Some people have to, and we think that's an important role. Our role is to focus on the substance. And if I think that it's important for people who really care about this issue to not let the crazies derail it, because I think there have been some crazy theories that have gained a lot of traction, and you look at them, it doesn't take a lot of research on justice.gov to see how wrong or misleading or weak some theories are that I think are getting a lot of attention.
What are those theories too?
DiCaprio eating kids,
They're saying DiCaprio?
Viral tweet, tens of thousands of likes. I think cannibalism in general is weak from the latest files. I get that, the reference to the cannibal, and that, there was testimony from one guy who himself seemed a little deranged in his post-Epstein death where he claimed there was cannibalism. I think that one's pretty weak. I think there are a lot of kind of red herrings that are popping up. So I think that is where you can, but I think there are some aspects that deserve, if you want real change, if you want heads, you have to be adherent to facts. Yes. Because otherwise, I think you made a great point. I think like Howard Lutnick, I think that if I were, now the problem is the guy in the White House does also have kind of a complicated relationship with Epstein over the years, where you hear on the one hand, he's his best friend, and Virginia Giuffre comes from Mar-a-Lago, and you also, he's regularly calling the pad at the Palm Beach house, and then you also have him reporting the crimes to the sheriff, and you also have him talking to journalists, and you also have him sort of, and in another sense, kind of being one of Epstein's biggest rivals. So you have, like, he is a complicated, but Howard Lutnick, I thought you made a good point. Like, why does he still have a job? I think he lied in such an obvious way about his relationship with Epstein. I think we have gotten to this point of like, not caring enough to issue real world consequences. And for some people, you need criminal proceedings. For some others, you just need adults to step up and go, you're fired. You should not be a leader in a country having kept ties and lied about ties with a guy like Jeffrey Epstein. So I guess, I don't know. There's so much to talk about. I don't know, Frost, what you would say were your initial thoughts and kind of where you are now.
Well, I'd say thankfully I was in the Middle East for most of the stuff.
Yeah.
So I always take it from a distance.
Coincidentally. Yeah.
Coincidence? No.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
One of, if not the most common DMs I get on Instagram are many of you asking me what my favorite books are. Well, today's your lucky day, because if you use the link in my description below to join my newsletter, I'm going to give you my top 10 book recommendations right now. Also, if you'd like to join my clipping community for a chance to make money producing content from the show, you can do so via the Discord link in my description below. And finally, you can join my Patreon for early uncensored releases of the full episodes via the Patreon link in my description below. As always, please take 1 second to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. I really appreciate that. Also, the like button's a big help, and you can join my newsletter via the link in the description below.
To me, someone like Howard Lutnick, it's just ridiculous. It's just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, to lie about this, it's obvious that the Trump administration's policy with everything is to never show weakness. And if you fire someone and you force a resignation, you're showing weakness, and you can't do that. The fact that Pam Bondi still has a job, like all these people, I mean, it's just discrediting to the entire government. Beyond that, I mean, I don't know. I read the stuff. I read obviously all the pizza references, the grape soda references and everything. And you're like, what the fuck is going on here? The jerky. But I don't know. I mean, that's like, I've read it. I've read the emails. I've read the stuff that our writer, Max Hudgens, has put up a bunch of stuff that's been really good. But beyond that, I don't have like a comprehensive theory of it.
So
let me ask you. Yeah. So like the jerky thing, we've read the same emails. Like I read that and I'm like, okay, this is really weird.
Yes.
I don't know how to go beyond that. Because I'm like, yeah, it's possible they're cannibals. That also seems like quite a large jump. So that's kind of where I am. I'm like, well, I don't know.
Well, this is exactly what I was going to reply to with what you were saying, Toey, is that there are things that in the past, even as it pertains to this case, if people had brought it up, I would have been like, come on, get the fuck out of here. Please stop. Like the crazies are taking over. It does not mean that all those things have now happened, though. Yeah. And people want to run with that. However, there are things, and I have to admit this, that in the past I would have dismissed and ruled out that on a 0 to 100 probabilistic scale, I can no longer say are 0. I cannot say cannibalism is at a 0. Do I think it's at a 90%? No. That's where I'm with you. I don't. I think the people are like, or the people are like 100% this happened. I'm like, I need more.
Yeah.
But what's in those other 3 million documents that they're holding back? Why is Tim Brennan? I tend not to trust people from fucking Congress and government, so let me put a big, asterisk on this. But why are people like Tim Burchett, who have seen some of those files, throwing around terms like cannibalism and stuff like that? You see these people talk, and you're right. The jerky thing could be a lot of stuff. There was a guy I cited on the Kiriakou podcast, Steve. Can we look it up? Epstein jerky documentary. It's like Dr. Something Reacts. I really appreciated how this guy broke down the emails because he didn't draw any conclusions. He just said, here's the emails, here's what they're saying, here's all the references to jerky. It's weird.
I will say part of this, and at the end of the day, you have to pursue truth. And so even if it makes you like nauseous, I like reading the discourse around pizza, for example, where on the one side you have people saying, well, almost all of it was in conversation. Like most of the pizza references were Epstein talking to his urologist, and therefore pizza and grape soda in those contexts were referring to medicines he was taking for like STDs and other things, and most of the pizza references when you break it down. And then you read other ones and it's not as convincing, and so all of a sudden you just sort of feel nauseous having to do the due diligence for this story. I also do think a lot of the people who show up to Congress, I mean, there are, a few of them have certainly changed their tune dramatically in the last 3 years, and there, are hundreds of millions of dollars at stake. But it's also true that I think that some people who are so micro-focused on this story are missing the larger picture.
And what's that?
The larger picture being over that from not having a college degree, taking classes at NYU, to becoming the most trusted tax estate planner in the world and getting however many million dollars from Leon Black alone, and getting the most expensive townhouse in Manhattan for $1, and being friends with Ehud Barak and 2 presidents. That journey is bizarre. And there are just so many profound oddities about the Epstein case. And I'm still I don't know what to make of it. I really don't. I know that might sound, like everyone's kind of expected to have a theory. I don't. I really don't. Like parts of it lead to, yes, there are evil people and they have some friends who may or may not know the extent of their evil. and they kept up affiliations for one reason or another. Maybe they didn't want to have an explosion, a public fallout, whatever, or maybe they were deep in it. And then there were other parts like the Ghislaine Maxwell, of all people, his companion is the daughter of Robert Maxwell.
Of all people.
Of all people, you know, and it's like, in the connecting and his line to Putin and
what do you make of that one?
I just don't know what to make of it.
Well, he was connected. What's clear? Dave Smith actually had a really good tweet on this that I'm not even saying I agree with, but it's a very interesting point to put out there. And he said, I used to think Jeffrey Epstein worked for Mossad. I now wonder if Mossad worked for Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah.
I'm not there, but he draws a good point in the sense that it is very, very clear. It is crystal clear that Israeli intelligence is involved with this. Walks like a duck, quacks like a duck. It's a fucking duck, and that's an issue. It is also clear to me now that our intelligence is involved with it too. That was already clear to me, but it's more than I thought. And it is also clear to me that this guy was a peddler like a Robert Maxwell, who peddled intelligence, we know, to multiple different intelligence agencies around the world. I have no doubt that Jeffrey Epstein did things like that. That's why I think Tucker is really spot on about this, about a super government where he's like, you elect people, but they work for people who are fixers who work for the real people. And Jeffrey Epstein is the fixer who works for the real people.
But why do you think, I mean, like Robert Maxwell had ties to Soviet intelligence, UK intelligence, Israeli intelligence, American intelligence, right?
I don't know about ties to American intelligence, but the first
certainly
three.
The other three.
Yes.
So then why, I mean, don't you think they share intel? I mean, don't you think they just find these people and like, I don't understand the thing of being above them. I've heard Tucker's supranational stuff. I don't really get that compared to, they've got a guy who shares them information and they all identified the same guy.
And on the Supra, I know there's always that clip of like the guy on Patrick Bet-David who said, "Here are the most powerful people in the world and you don't know them." I'm like, I get how that's catchy. I don't know if I buy it. And I also think that if you assume that, a lot of things about our world don't make perfect sense. It's also true that the Jeffrey Epstein story needs explanation and there were a lot of bizarre, but like there are just so many public dissenters. You'd think that they'd be a little better at weeding them out or at least controlling the system more. I'm saying if there were a super government, what was that?
Public dissenters.
Just people like, you know, would Tucker be able to speak the way he does if there were this all-powerful
Okay, so here's the difference. The world has changed in the last 2 years drastically. You couldn't talk about this 2 years ago. If I put the word Epstein spelled incorrectly in a title, boom, demonetized. We've talked about this. You can go back to episode 39 with Mike Spear. We've talked about this case, and that video is demonetized, by the way. There was a real lid on this, and what happened is the volume of people rose so large and the story got so out of their control. These people that used to think they could just run the world without any of the little people bothering their order of business at all, finally got caught with their hands in the cookie jar, that they can't put a total lid on this anymore. The world has changed. And the fact is, and this is just the fucking 500-pound elephant in the room. You have a guy who was associated with Israeli and American intelligence for sure. For sure. That is, at this point, if someone does not say that as a baseline, I can't really have a conversation with them about the case because they haven't studied the case. And we now have 3 million files that are, it's locked away in violation of federal law, by the way. We're never going to show it to people. We have files that protected people who are tied to these intelligence organizations, and now they've had to unredact some of those things because they got caught doing them. And the fact of the matter is, when you put this all into context with the fact that the Israeli government has had an awful PR campaign for over 2 years now, to where basically the entire world is against the government and what they're doing there, they ain't like that no more with shutting people down. I could have put out a video 2 years ago. Remember Mr. Beast used to do those videos where when he was young where he would just say the same word, fucking, I'm going to say this word 100,000 times.
Yeah.
I could have done a video where I was like, fuck Biden, fuck Biden, fuck Biden, like over and over and over and over again, and it would have, maybe done 1 million views or something like that. But if I had said that and replaced the word Biden with Israel, you'd never hear my channel again. That is not the case today. That is not the case. You have people who there is such a volume of people speaking against their actions that they cannot put a lid on it. And sometimes, and this is the fucking 6D chess play, sometimes I wonder if that's the idea.
Well, I mean, just to, like, we ran a 3-part or 4-part series on Epstein back in 2021 on Instagram. It got over 100,000 likes across, and we were a smaller page then. We probably had like 600,000 followers. And it was just about essentially, you know, the argument for why Epstein likely was murdered. But it got out there.
That's it. Did you get to the intel stuff?
Honestly, it was 2021.
I can't remember.
But it got out. I mean,
I think we covered Acosta.
We definitely got to that stuff. I just said, like when I look at it, again, I just don't know. And I haven't gone through it nearly as closely as I will at some point. But isn't it, it's definitely, to me, when I look at it, I don't see evidence. I haven't yet seen evidence that the most egregious things, that the child sex trafficking stuff to all these powerful people happened. What I have seen evidence of is that he is a lot of people coming to him for prostitutes, coming to him, trafficking other kind of women. Is that different? I mean, I don't know. Like to me, like the whole, you have this
there
thing.
There were kids in those trafficking.
Huh?
There were kids. It's in the emails. He was trafficking young kids too.
It's in the emails.
Fuck yeah.
What's it say?
They're not even the ones in code. I got an 11-year-old. I got a 13-year-old. The stuff that Michael Tracy forgets how to read.
Well, wasn't the Howard Lutnick one, wasn't that him talking about his own kids when they
That's different. I'm not even referring. That was disgusting to me, but like that's different. There are literally emails of them going back and forth talking about this. And then, Steve, can you pull up the email of Jeffrey Epstein saying, "I'm that guy," about the movie? Just, this is all you need right here.
Well, yeah,
Can you put it up on the screen? Can we?
Yeah. He's going to. He's trying to find it. Where he's like, where's the other one? God damn it! I thought this was it. I'm sorry. The other one where he literally says, "I'm that guy."
Hold on. Can you go back? I'm just trying to read that again.
Oh, this email made my blood boil. It's like you couldn't even write this in a movie. He's like, I almost fell over because I'm that guy. She had no idea I'm that guy. And it's from this same time. We gotta find that email.
December 2018.
Right now. So a friend of a friend Skyped me because they wanted some advice. She said she was working.
I just had an Epstein survivor in that chair, by the way, too.
Really?
Who was trafficked to that island.
Damn.
Yeah. This is a case. This is left and right. It is the most bipartisan case of my lifetime. They're guilty.
Yeah.
And it is such a fucking red line that makes my blood boil when people cannot go look. Like when I talk to other people in my life who are like, all right, I'm like, you know what? I get it. You're going about your daily life. You don't have time to look into this like I do, but like, please read some emails. Please just go look at the depravity of what this guy was doing. Listen to the people who survived it and are brave enough to talk about it. It's beyond the pale to me.
My question that I come back to is I feel the outrage about getting some justice, getting some heads to roll. But my question is whose? You know, you have to start with actual, targeted. It's not enough to say like, we need the system to fall. Like if we want justice, I always wonder, who do you start with? Like, is it Bill Gates? Well, to my understanding, I don't think Bill Gates went to the island. I think he kept close ties and went to the townhouse a few times in Manhattan. I just always wonder, like, who goes down and in what order. Because I think that my thing is that the collective outrage, I think, is totally legitimate. It's absurd that, this was blocked up for so long. But, like, you do have to be tactical in terms of who to go after. All right, looks like we're getting another picture up. Wait, but I do want to hear your thoughts on that. Like, who do you go after in what order?
You go after the people that are clearly implicated in this.
But
you go after the people that start with the ones that already have witness testimony all over them. I shout out to the UK for at least arresting Andrew. It's over probably the Al Yamama deal and not this yet, but that involves Epstein. But you start with the people who are clearly implicating themselves in here. You start with the fact that you have a guy who was listed as a fucking co-conspirator in the documents documents and covered up for, like Les Wexner, who's fucking in the emails going back and forth with this guy who gave him all his money inexplicably to a fucking college dropout. You start with the people who were trafficking these girls through modeling agencies. Some of them apparently are already dead because they unalived themselves and stuff like that. But you go and dig into the case like you would dig into any other case, and you don't protect people simply because they pay the right people and are very wealthy. I am with you, Max, that like my instant reaction, right? Like I'm an emotional guy first, and you see some of it coming out right now. I train myself to be logical.
Yeah.
I usually don't lose it on camera. I've lost it a few times since this case has come out, and I make no apologies for that. But like, I have to train myself to get it all out, which is usually on a phone call to someone close in my life, and then pace around, calm down, and look at the logic.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm calmed down.
Yeah.
And I'll look at the logic now after my little freak out. And the logic is that there is significant evidence against a lot of people who happen to pay all the right people who are wealthy that has been covered up, and that needs to be uncovered up. And we are talking about the most basic fucking thing that everyone should be able to agree on here, which is that you don't abuse anyone, but you especially don't abuse kids. So the fact that they are not, that Bondi has said they're not going to bring any cases about this already. Yeah. Are you fucking kidding me? Shut the fuck up about the Dow.
Yeah.
The Dow.
Julian, is he pulling up the one about the kids? So this is essentially my understanding of this. So like the way I've understand it, like the stuff that I've seen, and I look at it, I'm just like, okay, what I understand from what I've read and what makes sense to me. Jeffrey Epstein was trafficking women. I'm not saying that, you know, whatever. Just like if I like go through these, because I hadn't seen this one, but I've seen other ones. He's trafficking women to other powerful people, and you have these people like the Emirati guy, you know, I think they're going to Istanbul and saying, you know, can you bring me some girls here? Like it's very obvious, like what's going on there. The kids thing, that's where I look at it and I'm like, I haven't, to be honest, I just haven't seen the stuff. I'm not saying it's not there, and the stuff I've gone through, I haven't seen that part of it substantiated. I'm not saying Jeffrey Epstein himself. I mean, he literally went to prison for soliciting a child prostitute, right? Child prostitute, raping a kid. But you know, in terms of the overall thing of the cabal of these people, you know, taking their turns with these children, I have not seen that substantiated. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm not rejecting it.
Read the emails.
But I mean, like I said, I've gone through a bunch of them. I haven't.
There. I cannot.
But Julian, like, I think that with some of this, like, I hate Bill Gates. I would beg you to look for a news company too that has hit AI. I think has given it the scrutiny it deserves, and all these companies making fortunes and all the leaders behind them. And the tech world, I'm deeply skeptical of. I'm shocked it doesn't get more coverage. There's part of me that wonders if RocaNews, who represents Silicon Valley, isn't pushing this issue so aggressively, partly because it's a huge distraction. Elon Musk begging for the file release when he's in them in an embarrassing and stunning fashion, and yet he still wants discourse to be Epstein focused. Like, there's part of me that wonders what their angle is in all this. But I'm also like, I looked at all the Bill Gates stuff, all of it, and I can't pin him, and I imagine prosecutors can't pin him to a crime. Should he be societally canceled? That's another question, because he's associated with this guy. He got divorced over this relationship, and people warned him about Epstein. So maybe on a societal level, we start to look at Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation or the Bill Gates Foundation and just go, okay, this is no longer a treasured thing. Maybe he shouldn't be speaking at all the Emirati summits or Davos or or the what's it called, Sun Valley. Maybe he shouldn't be speaking at all these. But is Bill Gates criminally implicated? I bet Les Wexner, I don't know. I bet he would be. Leon Black, I bet he would be. JP Morgan, I'd like to see more there. I mean, they paid up a big settlement. I think it's like $290 or something, $230 or whatever. But I do want to see more investigations. I guess I'd like to, I don't know, see more. And I don't trust Pam Bondi to do it. But I would like to see some more criminal proceedings, but it's got to start somewhere. It's got to start somewhere.
It has to start somewhere. And to be clear, there are some powerful people that are fun to talk about because we hate them for a lot of reasons, and we hate the fact that they're associated with the guy, where right now we don't yet have evidence that could say definitely it was with a 15-year-old or something like that.
Yeah.
And off the top of my head, maybe people in the comments can correct me if they found something in the emails, but like Bill Gates is a guy that I cannot say right now is someone that we have any proof that he was with a 15-year-old or something like that. There's a lot of smoke around it, I'll say that, but there are other people like Prince Andrew where we absolutely do.
But like with Bill Gates too, it's like even the Russian prostitute STD, that was an unsent email from Jeffrey Epstein to Jeffrey Epstein. Do I believe it's true? Well, that's everyone's judgment.
Right.
I tend to think it's compelling. I mean, Bill Gates, we know, cheated on his wife.
Yes.
That was known. Melinda was very concerned about his Epstein relationship. And that's quite a detailed thing to type to yourself if there's not some substance to it. So, like, to me, everyone can draw their own conclusion on that one. I think he's guilty. But like with the underage, that's where I'm like, I mean, also those Russian girls, I think has the FBI looked into how they were procured and what they're, I don't know. So
they would go get 15, 16-year-olds from over there.
Yeah. Like, so I think there's a lot to look into, and I think Pam Bondi's handling it poorly. I was surprised at how much of Trump world was caught up in this. And it made me almost trust the DOJ a touch more, in that they were willing to, and like Howard Lutnick would have, probably given his life for all that to not come out, and Elon as well. But still, I would like to see all the files out,
Yeah, they Nancy Mace, who's been one of the few brave people on this, going after it, tweeted out last night that they're not releasing the rest of the files because it would implicate intelligence matters. And kudos to her for doing that. No shit, Sherlock. But I appreciate someone like in her position saying that publicly. But it's like, with who?
Yeah.
Who's it implicating?
Yeah.
And why is that such an issue?
Yeah.
And it's because if there's one thing in society, there's people who have come back from homicide.
Yeah.
In some cases. But if there's one thing that if it's written in stone, you are not coming back from.
Yeah.
It's being a pedo.
Yeah.
It is the ultimate, as it should be. It's the ultimate scarlet letter on all of these people.
Yeah.
And so, sometimes do we try people in the court of public opinion before we have facts? For sure. And that's not fair. But it is the ultimate blackmail weapon. And by the way, and this is a conversation that, especially right now, people don't want to have because they just want to burn everything down. And I get that. But like, are there guys who are probably sitting on hard drives in probably fucking Tel Aviv that show proof that they had sexual relations with an underage kid and had no idea when they were doing it that was an underage kid? Yeah, I have no doubt about that. But their proof won't matter. They're still going to be, if it ever came out, they're still going to be labeled that way. And there are so many ways to get people with this. And this guy, you are talking about a guy like, in Jeffrey Epstein, obviously a sick, sadistic individual. But it is very clear to me from all the accounts we've heard of him, and I just had one of them in here personally, he was a masterclass manipulator. He knew how to be like a parasite on your desires and your biggest weaknesses, your biggest touch points, and just attack them. And so we've seen what he can do to so many people, and it's like the rabbit got out of the hat at some point, and these agencies decided, oh my God, we can never let anyone else know about it. And now people know. And I think listen, there are enough people who are totally uninformed on this, who haven't kept up with it, which is what the government is counting on to make this go away while they distract us with fucking wars in Iran and all that. There are enough people that if things don't happen soon, sadly, cynically, this will drift off and nothing will happen. If that is not the case, though, and a bunch of people keep their voice loud and proud about this and say, we're not letting this go, this is a civilizational threat of a story. And this is the point I wanted to make to give you guys a chance to bite this off. But like, as much as my emotional reaction is like burn it all down, I know that ends really badly. If you burn down all of Western civilization overnight because you've decided that a bunch of people are satanic pedophiles and therefore everyone is, well, the world as we know it ends. Instead, the harder thing to do, but the right way to go about this, is imagine the greatest, biggest, most historical mansion you've ever seen in your life, like from the Roman times, and it's sprawling, and it's got 1 million rooms in it. And you know that a bunch of those rooms are filled with asbestos and termites and cockroaches. And they got to go. The easy thing, looking at the task in front of you, is to be like, I know it's a story. Just burn it all down and we'll figure it out later. That's the easy thing to do. The harder thing to do is to put on a hazmat suit and go room by room, one by one, and clean it out. That's what we got to do.
Julie, what about, all the people who aren't implicated? Like in that worldview, right. That's to say that, you have the entirety of the elite, but it's not the entirety of the elite.
That's right.
Let's look at the Bush administration. For everything George Bush did wrong, George Bush's name isn't in there, is it?
Bro, he bombed brown people for the love of the game.
Yeah.
Well, but sure, but like that. But I'm not talking about that. But just like his name's not there, right?
That's
or
exactly
Obama's
right.
name isn't there, and like
That's right.
There's a huge number of people who aren't there, which
That's
is to
right.
say, okay, then what's the if there is a so for me, like, look, I guess I struggle to put together the coherent narrative. Because if the coherent narrative is everybody's compromised, the idea here was to compromise everybody with power. Well, there's a lot of people who aren't. So
You're making my point. This is what I'm saying.
What? That you got to go after those ones who are.
That's right.
Yeah,
you have to go room by room.
But I guess
find the rooms that actually have asbestos.
But how does that? Because if there's two ways of looking at this, one is that Jeffrey Epstein is essentially a rogue individual who loved being at the center of the social circle. He was peddling women to all these people or girls or whatever it is. For the love of, let's just say, if you're saying George Bush is bombing them for the love of the game, Epstein's doing this for the love of the game, right? If that's one worldview, and then the other is that it's a concerted effort to blackmail everybody, right? And yet, most powerful people are not implicated. I mean, there are legions of super, super, super powerful people. I talk about Jamie Dimon, right? There's all these people who shaped the world in many ways who aren't involved here.
Jamie Dimon is implicated.
I was going to say JP Morgan.
It's a bad example.
But
JP, yeah, sure, yeah. Okay, sure, but whoever. I mean, there's lots who aren't.
Yes.
So how does that? Just like I'm not saying this like whatever, but how does that, like in your view? How do you explain all the people who aren't implicated?
Yes, you're making my point. This is what I'm saying. We are seeing so many powerful, huge names across culture, across different levels of society, be it politics, be it banking, be it tech, be it international diplomacy, whatever it may be, who are implicated. And the easy, angry response to that is to be like, therefore all of them. I'll give you another example on this. On November 22nd, 1963, the United States government whacked a sitting president. That's a fact. Let's say there was 100,000 people working at CIA and Pentagon at the time. You think it's reasonable to say 99,985 of them had no idea that was going to happen?
I would say yes.
Okay. Meaning like it was a small group of people, a little cabal, if you will, that decide to make that decision.
Yeah.
Therefore, and there's a lot of other things CIA has done very wrong, but that's a long conversation. But if we're just looking at this issue, does that mean that you should therefore the next day bulldoze CIA and bulldoze the Pentagon and not have them there?
No.
Exactly. This is my point, and you're making the same point as me. We are in agreement. I want to go room by room and find the people who actually are guilty.
But my point, just because I'm not a big, I think Tucker is, I don't trust him in many areas. I think that, first of all, he himself, I mean, talk about he loves to analyze people and their incentives and their like sketchy background. I mean, talk about him. Like a frozen food heir whose dad ran the biggest propaganda foundation, got him his start in media, worked with the CIA for decades. Voice of America. Yeah, his dad, I mean, and like he remained very close with them. He goes up the ultra establishment route, calls out people who are pseudo-populist and dress like populists, even though they're of the elites. He's kind of done that reinvention. Some people say it's an authentic conversion. You can sort of read the man for yourself and his biography for yourself and see when he made the pivot. It was after Fox News and getting fired and all that. There are a lot of things about his biography where I just do not trust him. I do not trust him. And I think he's bad faith in many ways. Doesn't mean everything he says is wrong. I think like a lot of people, he may cover things very well, and he's a smart guy. He's a very smart guy. He's a good writer, all that. But when he talks about this super government, I'm like, I then start to read American history through that lens. And on the one hand, it's unfalsifiable. Like if that's your worldview, you can probably justify every event through that lens. You can say, well, they planned it this way, and yeah, they wanted you to think it wasn't really one of the. But I'm still like, really, you would have picked Trump of all the leaders, to come out. Now you make the really good point of the world has changed. So that to me is an interesting theory where like this entity may have had more authority 20 years ago or 60 years ago. I'm of the belief that the CIA used to be a lot more treacherous in the 60s and 50s. I think they were a lot more emboldened, and it's harder to pull some of these things off these days. I guess my entire point there is Frost said, Obama, Catherine Rumler, the top lawyer in the White House.
That doesn't mean Obama's implicated.
Exactly. It doesn't mean he.
That's right.
Surprisingly, Biden pretty clear. Hunter, all that crack and no Epstein. But he had in Bush the Bush is pretty safe. So you have a lot of people, and I know people will say, well, some in their orbit were caught, but still the meat of the operation wasn't. So I'm like, I still think there's a group like this Larry Summers, Bill Gates, across Harvard, Davos. I do think there's something there. I am not saying there's not. And again, we've covered this story since the beginning of ROCA. Aggressively. You can look at everything from our memes to the number of times we've covered it as a deep dive, all this. My point in that is there's a ton to this story. I just am still I still feel like it might be, I just haven't personally pieced it together. And I'm stuttering over my words just because I want to have some theories, and every time I think it's it, I just feel like you have to have a really good case before you launch it. And I'm still stuck in that spot of piecing it all together.
When I had John in here the other day, the third hour of that podcast, number 388, is essentially me and John's looked at this case for a long time, and now there's new information and stuff. He's looked at some of it. But it's just the third hour really shook me afterwards, because much of it is essentially me narrating emails and looking to John, whose head was just turned to the screen like this, with his hand like this. And John Kiriakou, the man who, he never runs out of things to say. The first 2 times I ever had him here, they were both 2 podcasts apiece. He was sitting there for 6 hours, and I had to stop him. He was speechless. He was genuinely speechless. I knew this was bad. I have talked about how bad this is for a long time. I've talked about how much deeper this may go than we think for a long time. This is worse than even I imagined.
Yeah.
And you are absolutely right. This and it's not a popular thing to say. And I don't care. I won't just say the popular thing to say. Burning everything down at once is not the answer, because there are plenty of also people who might, if you want to use the sake of argument, who might be really bad people.
Right.
Dick Cheney was a really bad guy. Dick Cheney's not in these files. Yeah. Right now, he's also dead now. But think of the people who are alive, right? That's where you have to say, even the people I don't like, if there's not a there, then don't create one, because that's where they win. That's where the people who pull the strings win. They want you to believe everything without evidence so that they can discredit you. And that's why I get really firm on the stuff that very clearly does have evidence.
Can you find the email, the one you're talking about with the kids? On that guy, or is that this one?
By the way, as we look for that, the number of tech people in the email surprised me. If you want to talk about
by the way, it is that I was frantic earlier reading this. It is that, let me read this again, Max. It is that bottom email right there. I want to read this slowly.
Okay, yeah.
Because I read this too fast, but this is damning. It's from December 28, 2018. A friend of a friend Skyped me because they wanted some advice. She said she was working on a sex trafficking movie. She said she met this really beautiful girl that used to be a sex slave for a guy with a private island. She met this pilot/girl at Burning Man. I asked her if she had ever met Epstein. She said she hadn't, and I said, yes, you have. She almost fainted.
So it sounds like Epstein's sending this to a woman, to a woman he was trafficking.
I believe I had seen somewhere he was talking to Masha Dragovich.
Who's that?
she was like, I don't really know what to call her. So actually, huge shout out to Sean Ryan and their team, because this was a fucking unbelievable call. He recorded a podcast with Masha Dragovich, who's like this Russian dissenter, Putin, who's involved in a lot of shit. I actually have to look more into her, to be perfectly honest. But he records this podcast with her maybe a year ago, 8-9 months, something like that. And, you know, Sean just had a gut. Something's off. Something's wrong here. Never tells anyone, never puts it out. She comes out in the emails as not only being tight, because then he asked her on camera about Epstein, because after the emails, he put it out for people so they could see it, where she denies really knowing Epstein much at all. She talked with him a couple times, but whatever. She was one of his main fucking people. She's one of the most cited people in the emails. She's talking with him about racial supremacy and getting DNA tests, and then only having parties with people who match a 98%, in this case, Jewish blood or more, so they can procreate together because they're smarter than everyone. And she was extremely tight with this guy. And Sean had an inkling that something was off, and he never ran the episode. And that is a god tier level fucking gut feel. So shout out, Sean.
Sorry, Julian, do you think all these people, like, I'm just asking, this is not a leading question, just out of curiosity. Do you think all the people who he corresponds with were involved with the sex trafficking?
No. Absolutely not. And that's not, people want to believe that. The problem is, I'll give you a personal example. Lawrence Krauss is sat in that chair.
Yeah.
Lawrence Krauss, and I asked him about it when he was here. I got connected to him through another guest on the show, brought him in here, and like when he was coming in, I'm like, we already knew at the time he was friends with Epstein, but Epstein funded fucking everyone in the Edge Foundation. I'm like, whatever. So I asked him about it, and he answered it. It was quick on the podcast. He was like kind of flipping about it. But he was like, he came in and funded stuff. We take money from people that fund stuff. He was like very direct about it. And we got along well. 7,500 emails.
Wow.
Trying to get Jeffrey Epstein on the Joe Rogan Experience after he went on himself in 2017. Like, the chances of him not knowing something are low. Does that mean he's guilty? No.
7,500 emails.
7,500 emails.
That's a lot.
Okay?
That's a lot.
Like, Catherine Rumler had
fucking...
1,100. Had 11,500.
I know, dude, what was she doing all day?
But your question is exactly what you should be asking journalistically. The thing is, when you're so caught up with this guy many times post-conviction, you have to be, like, it's just, the burden of proof is on you to prove that you didn't know.
But yes, maybe in a social setting, but in a criminal setting, that's why like the proof. To me, I have like a laundry list of stuff to look into. I still think his tech ties are crazy, especially in later stage Epstein. Like the number of people, one area, like if you look at presidents, it was actually like, you know, I mean, Trump and Clinton, but again, Obama, Biden, Bush, pretty clean. But 40, if you look at the wealth list, it's pretty surprising. It's pretty surprising how many of like the tech people are implicated or at least involved. So to me, like Les Wexner is on my line of like the people who need a closer inspection. Steve Bannon. Oh my goodness. I mean, that interview.
Well, I was gonna say, what's your guy? I haven't watched it. What's your guys' take on the Steve Bannon relationship?
Well, he's rehabbing Epstein and trying to get him through the system. Now, to what you know, Steve Bannon also seems to have like this weird streak of wanting to be a villain. So maybe this was, I think the most, ironically, the most generous reading is he wanted to be like an edgelord and get involved with that. I think though that the degree to which, I saw an interesting read that the Epstein belong intelligence line, because that wasn't Alex Acosta on a mic. That was a senior White House aide saying Acosta said it, and that they now think that maybe Bannon originated that. And that basically he deserves a closer inspection. I mean, if you're his PR guy down the stretch, that's pretty wild. Is this dented
Bannon standing with his audience?
Yeah. I would think so. Yeah. It should have. I mean, he talks about the global elite all day, and he's working, like, advising. That is insane to think about. I think Leon Black. How about Leon Black's? You just want to talk about optics. Leon Black's, and by the way, sons are not guilty of what their father is, but from an optics perspective, these allegations have been out against Leon Black forever, and his son works in the administration. It's like, dude. Yeah. the William Barr dad. Dalton,
yeah. By the way, who's in
headmaster.
charge of the transition team of the administration? Howard Lutnick.
Lutnick, to me, I think we have like overthought some of this too, where like that was a big lie. He should get fired. You're fired. I think some presidents, say what you want about like Obama and Bush, they would move people out of there if there was like a scandal. And I know people are like, they were so deep state. Eric Holder, I guess, is an exception
Trump
for
too.
Obama. But no, I'm saying
Acosta?
Oh, that's
moved
true.
out of there.
That's true. But I'm saying over
Scaramucci
this.
lasted 10 days.
Well, Trump term 1 fired everybody,
But yeah, this term, he's like, what does Kash Patel have to do to lose a job?
Why? That's my question.
I think the weakness point is one reason he doesn't want to be perceived as weak. I'm saying he should be moving them out. Like
why is he not?
Why Pam Bondi? I think it's probably either the weakness point or he doesn't want them to rat on what they know, and maybe they know more than he'd like us to believe. Like if Bondi hit the podcast circuit, who knows what she's seen that they don't want out there? Who knows what tell-all book she could put together about what Trump said about releasing the files and calling the American people. I'm sure like Trump was like, these fucking idiots won't drop this story. Guess what? I was friends with them. Everybody was friends with. Who knows what quotes he has? I'm making these up, obviously. I bet you Pam Bondi could write a pretty explosive tell-all. I think that's another reading. I'm sure the audience will have some more theories, but I don't know. But I think that like there should be some basic accountability. Elon Musk on this, I'm not looking past that either, by the way. I don't think he's...
should answer for that.
I don't think he's like criminal per se, but like to want the epic parties girls for the win and to consistently insist and then get rejected from the pedo party. not that it was a pedo party. I do. Again, we're in a different position. Like I don't want to say things that aren't true, but going to the island is like... It's like that college party where like whatever house it is, whether it's the wildest frat or like my college didn't have frats, but there was always a house where like you didn't know what was going on there, but you knew the hardest drugs were happening. You knew the girls that ran around there. It was a little weird and whatever. Like when you walk into that house, you kind of know what you're signing up for. You don't know exactly what's going on. I think a lot of people knew vaguely what Epstein was known for, like Trump in the early 2000s saying that younger women, even younger than I like them. You know, that line, like in the New Yorker profile. Yeah, I guess a lot of people knew what he was about and they still ran in his circles.
So when we last weekend in our app, every weekend we do 5 deep dive stories on the weekend. 3 of them last week were about Epstein. And I was looking at the feedback from our readers, and it's very, very, I'd say like 70% want more of the content. They're just horrified by everything. They think it's a story of the year and all, story of the century and all this kind of stuff. And then the other 30% are essentially it's a cover up. It's a distraction.
Red
herring thing. And I do say, the point that Tui made before, I do. So again, I'm not at all, I just don't know what to make of it, right? I want to learn more about it. I want to keep reading. I want to keep attaining information, just figuring out where it is. I don't think, obviously nothing should be off limits and we should be pursuing the truth in every single aspect. I do worry about, dude, I think this AI stuff, man, it is fucking terrifying. It's terrifying. And it's happening just in the period since like say July when this Epstein stuff really started popping off. Dude, like the AI stuff, it's become everywhere. It's starting to shape everything. And this is what everyone's talking about. So I think 2 things can be true. There can be smoke and fire. And it can also be that this is all everyone's talking about. Dude, I'll just say this is my own opinion. I'm terrified about the AI stuff. I think the economic ramifications of it are massive. I think the social, the control for the government, everything. I think we're looking at a potentially the most destabilizing period ever for the U.S. Maybe since the Great Depression, but in modern times. And instead, people don't talk about it. And it's just to me, it's like, and I know a lot of people think if you put it up on YouTube, it's going to get censored and everything, which I definitely, certainly one video we did not do well.
So put AI in the title.
Yeah,
it's done, dude. It's fucking done. Here's why I'm kind of that opinion of, well, 2 opinions. As we just said, we did a little 600%, or we bet 600 on Epstein stories last weekend. Like, we're going to keep covering this. You have to walk and chew gum in our business, especially when Trump's president. There are 15 million stories going on at once. I think that and so these stories shouldn't be competing. They're separate. Mm-hmm. I do get skeptical about why RocaNews. I mean, why weren't they clamoring about this in Biden?
Oh, listen, I don't give RocaNews, Thomas Massie, and Nancy Mace, I will admit, because of how hard they're going in on this, they are a separate entity for me. That is a separate thing.
But don't you think they may have their own motives? Like, I don't doubt that, like, Nancy Mace, I look at her record and how little I trust her and how, like, full of shit she seems in the reports from staffers.
Go watch her in the Tommy G documentary about Epstein 4 or 5 months ago.
It's worth watching?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you can tell she's still trying to toe. She tried really hard to toe the Trump line, and then look no farther than Marjorie Taylor Greene, who talked about, this is a woman who, when they were forced to wear masks at Congress, wore a fucking Trump mask on her mouth. She was the biggest MAGA person ever, and she talks about that conversation with Trump where she's like, I'm trying to help you guys. I believe you. I don't think you're guilty. Get out in front of this. And he's like, you don't understand. I have friends who are going to get hurt. You have pedo friends who are going to get hurt? You're covering up like calling Lex Wexner a friend, which we now know that's one of the people he's referring to in the year of our Lord at the time, 2025, is fucking insane,
But
bro.
Marjorie Taylor Greene allegedly did the pivot after she didn't get the Trump endorsement for Georgia Senate.
And why didn't she get it?
But I don't necessarily buy it because she's politically unpopular. Like,
I'm not a Marjorie Taylor Greene
I know. But my point is, I think that those three I think have a grandstanding track record. I don't
think Thomas Massie has that. RocaNews is a guy I actually, like, when the Ukraine war broke out, like, I felt like actually looked at it somewhat diplomatically at the time. I don't know his voting record on all of the fucking funding
but it's like
of Ukraine.
He supported the insider trading bill, and then it turns out he has traded, I think, the second most of any sitting congressman. And it's like Thomas Massie, there's always been a history of a libertarian who loves the spotlight. Does it mean everything he does is wrong? No, not at all. But it does mean, like, I do wonder when people are so vociferous about this. And, you know, I just do wonder why they're doing that. I think if you're going to examine motives, you got to look at everybody's motives.
You do.
Nancy Mace has, like, the most insane track record for her ex-staffers, and I don't take that lightly. My point on all this is that I think that, like, AI is, like, in the last week, let me put it this way, there have been some disturbing Epstein revelations. There's also been Sam Altman talking about humans guzzling up more resources than AI when it comes to acquiring new knowledge. And that comes on the heels of him saying in 2015, he thinks that AI will end humanity, but a lot of great companies will be created in the process. That's the CEO of Anthropic, Dario, who also himself has this weird track record of talking about AI destroying humanity. I mean, and we're like, I think that to me is more top of mind personally. I think both are massive stories. And I do wonder about those pushing this aggressively.
Everything is a distraction for everything, bro. The potential war in Iran here is a distraction for Epstein, which is a distraction for AI, which is a distraction for some other fucking government takeover. Everything is a giant circle and a distraction. And I agree with you. You have to look at everything. And the soup du jour is whatever the moment is. And some people know more about other things than some other things. But, like,
yeah,
I'm not going to let this go.
No, fair.
So, like, it is so black and white at this point. And again, there's some stuff that is not at the worst end of the spectrum that I'm rooting to not be true, by the way. As much as I hate Epstein, I'm not rooting for it to turn out to be like, yep, there was cannibalism. I'm not rooting for that. But, like, the fact that I can't rule that out reading this stuff should shake people to their core.
Yeah.
And it's just, God, this one is really fucking...
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, I don't know what Donald Trump's, the full extent of his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. I've defended him in the past as it pertains to Jeffrey Epstein and things that he did out in front, talking to Brad Edwards, the victim's attorney, in fucking 2007 and going on the record, being the only guy who would do it. Talking about him offhanded during the 2015, 2016 campaign about he got problems at that island. Now he's coming out there going, I like Bill Clinton. Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
That is why. You guys are journalists. Why?
Yeah.
And you guys are actually real journalists.
Yeah.
Like that, if you are not asking why is Donald Trump suddenly saying that about a guy who he stared in the face during a fucking presidential debate and said he raped people? Why is he now like, I still like Bill Clinton? Right when Bill is going to go talk. Like,
I mean,
there ain't a defense attorney in America who won't tell you off the record that not to say he's guilty, but that the behavior doesn't look guilty.
Yeah. I mean, Trump is not someone, if I were a defense attorney, I would not want him as my client personally, no matter how much he pays you, because a lot of what he does is inexplicable. I don't view his moral track record as favorable even before all this. No. So like, I'm not a Trump defender by any means, but yes.
No, I mean, Trump has the power to release all the files. It comes down to him. It's not Pam Bondi. It's him, right? So it's clear, but like, that's it. I mean, so what's going to take to get him to do something? Nothing.
Well, right? And also every administration before this since Clinton has covered this up. They deserve absolutely no credit for this.
Well, that's the thing, dude.
I don't give any political credit to people right now. I told you those three are kind of a separate category. Everyone else can fuck off. They get no credit. They covered this up forever.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of people, they love the game of noble lies. We saw this during COVID where they'd rather hide the truth from the public so as to not make them look bad or their institutions look bad. And I think that, a lot of people are like, trust in government's low, trust in Congress is at a historic low, which it is. And then they're like, so you know what we can't do? We can't show that we've been hiding this for a while. Okay. And so, yeah, I think there's been this, they are way too comfortable with noble lies in the government. Like, let's hide this from the people. I mean, I do think there are state secrets. Like, I think it's dumb to I think some people are like, open source the government. And
no,
you can't do that.
You can't do that.
But there are issues where they don't trust the public and that feeds the public's distrust. And so that is outrageous. I think that's why a lot of people, we see it around the country and rural white communities and they're just like, I just don't trust the authorities. And that's a big freaking problem right now.
Yep. You just there's certain things that need transparency and a light shined on them, especially when it's done.
Yeah.
Right. And
right.
This stuff has happened. We cannot change that it happened.
Yep.
But we can try to prevent it in the future, and we can try to prevent the environment that allowed this to happen. And anyone who's involved should be called out on that. You know, if I can't help but thinking if fucking China were involved with this, these documents would have been released fucking 6 years ago.
Yeah.
But they're not.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing that honestly scares me, I think we talked about this last time, but it's like, okay, well, if this is happening then, like all these people, we're talking about 2010s, 2000s, 2010s, right? Mm-hmm. Well, since then, it's like, obviously it's not like this kind of stuff stopped. So
That's
it's
right.
like then, and then I can't remember if it was you who said it when we were here last time or someone else I was talking to, but the person made the point, they're like, well, you don't really need a Jeffrey Epstein now because everything is recorded on your phone and literally everything.
Yeah.
So it's like there's nothing's private. If you're doing something illegal, if you're doing something, that's going to put the scarlet letter on you, somebody knows. And it's just it's disturbing, bro. I mean, all this stuff is extremely disturbing. But like, again, dude, the combination of this stuff, the tech stuff, it's a dark time. It's definitely
what gives me hope are people. I think traveling the country, you see great people everywhere. I think of my loved ones. And like there is like a lot of human decency and so much value to life beyond, your view of your governments and politics and culture, war and all this stuff. So like I do kind of rest on that. I think this is a great reminder of not placing too much faith in government. And instead recognizing the, deeper truths of life and the more valuable things. And I, on AI and I still remain hopeful. I really do. I think that, we don't see the unseen sectors that'll be created, and we may underestimate the resilience of our species. Like I saw yesterday that it was the 20th anniversary of the iPod mini coming out. And I'm like, dude, that was only 20 years ago. Think about life today.
Yeah, it's nuts.
And I'm like, and we're okay. I mean, more or less okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess I get some hope from that, but yeah, dude, insane time. I mean,
it's a good time to be in the news business.
It is.
We didn't even get to talk about El Mencho.
We did not. I'm going to be having a podcast coming out right after this with Katarina Schultz. She's coming back into town. And let's just say she's on this story. Put it that way. She's covering it inside. But yeah, there's so much going on. It's like you can't even decide. I appreciate you guys being good sports about this. I get worked up about this case.
Well, dude, I should be more informed on it. Like I said, I got back Sunday and I was like,
start reading.
Well, yeah. But I mean, it was just, honestly, it's like I was gone. And just like being in the mountains in Lebanon, I was like, yeah, that shit's going down.
Yeah, one of the things the Epstein survivor talked about when she was in here was she came from the modeling world, and she was just talking about how obvious it was.
Really?
Like the whole, and it's not just Epstein at all. Like she's like, obviously, like he's the worst guy I knew, but they just traffic you everywhere, you know? And then she just got out of the modeling business. She was a modeling scout for 15 years after she was a model.
Wow.
You know, and she's like, listen, there's aspects of the industry that I enjoyed that are great, but then there's like this underbelly dark side that's just totally wrong.
Yeah.
You know, and when you see that and what, you know, she was trafficked to him all kinds of times, and she was one that was of age.
Wow.
But, you know, she talked about the one time that she saw like a 13-year-old girl in the car when she got in there. She talked about when she was on the island, there were girls who were underage there with Prince Andrew.
Jeez.
You know, like, so just inviting the prince for the views.
Yeah.
Come on. It just is what it is, man. But to your point, you got to go piece by piece and real. You know, if you want to shun everyone who's in the files because they shouldn't have been associated with them, that's fine. When it comes to the criminal prosecutions, which I want to see, which apparently they're not going to do, but I want to see them and push for them, you have to get evidence on it. And you have to get direct evidence on the people involved. And we have evidence, obviously, on the people that were running it, but we got to find the evidence on the powerful people who were clearly, you know, it's like running a RICO case with the mob. Yeah. That's effectively what this is. Thank you guys for checking out this clip. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe and hit the like button on this video. It is a huge, huge help. And if you'd like to check out this clip's full podcast episode, that link is in the description below or right here. And finally, you can follow me on Instagram and X by using the links in my description below.